Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Bloody Jacob here to bring you my weekly review of The Walking Dead. But first, I just want to show some cool shirts I picked up real quick. I won't take up too much of the time with this, but I went to a clothing store and picked up a new Marvel t-shirt. It's pretty cool, sort of like a Marvel Universe characters shirt. I like how the Hulk sticks out there, obviously. Deadpool, Spider-Man, stuff like that. So yeah, pretty cool. I also picked up a Godzilla t-shirt. This one looks like it's pulled from one of the comic books that was written of him. So yeah, it's kind of cool. It's pretty cool. I like it. And I also picked up a nice collar t-shirt as well. This one doesn't have any cool designs on it or anything, but I think it looks really nice. I'm into dark colors and stuff, being into vampires and things like that, so picked up one of these things. It's pretty nice, I think. There's the tag. I haven't taken off yet. So yeah, so I'd show those off real quick. I also seen a good Walking Dead t-shirt. I probably should have gotten two. It kind of looked like it was back from the beginning of season 3, when they were, trying to take over the prison and killing all those walkers to sort of clear it out. It was basically a artwork of Rick and Daryl, surrounded by walkers and stuff, fighting them off. And I'll probably go back and buy that one at some point too, but I already have 2 Walking Dead shirts now. The one that my girlfriend gave me right here, and the other one you've seen of the Herschel's barn burning down, the t-shirt that I have. So I figure another one can wait for a little while, but still, thought I'd show those off real quick. I apologize for the wait. And this week for The Walking Dead, we'll be reviewing the episode Them. And just to get it out of the way really quickly, I like the episode. I thought it was very good. This episode is getting a lot of hate on social media, because if you go on The Walking Dead's Facebook page or some of the Walking Dead fan pages, or even if you look on YouTube to some of the bigger YouTubers doing reviews of the episode, like Trev's Chan 2, you'll see a lot of comments complaining how boring the episode was, calling it filler and different things like that. But in a way, it probably was filler, yes, just so you could space out the story a bit. In a way, it probably was for that purpose. But at the same time, I really appreciate episodes like this. Yes, it wasn't action, heavily action oriented or anything like that. But it did have some character development, and I like to say character moments as well, because a lot of times there isn't heavy development, but there's these character moments that I have together just really, they mean something. It's nice to see these things, and if you care about these characters, you'll like the slower moments they have with each other and to themselves and stuff like that. So to the people saying this episode sucked, I heavily disagree. I actually enjoyed this episode quite a bit more than what happened and what's going on in the mid-season premiere. Yes, that had the death of spoilers, Tyrese. Of course, I put spoilers in all the titles now for this show. But yeah, the death of Tyrese and what happened and what's going on was very good. I actually didn't want Tyrese to die there, but that death made it a fairly significant episode. Rather than that, I felt it was kind of dull in a certain way. And just something about this week's episode I enjoyed a bit more. Maybe because I was just more in the mood for The Walking Dead in general this week than I was last week. That's probably part of it. But, I don't know, there's some things about this episode I really liked, which I'll get into now. We see our group sort of, wandering down the road, not really sure where they're going. They're just, they're obviously going to Washington, but, they're just walking as fast as they can. Of course they're worn out because the sun's beating down on them, and we know what kind of things those can cause. They're exhausted, most of them are dehydrated, they're running low on water, and we see a different way of them killing walkers in this episode. Instead of expending energy or using weapons, they wait for the walkers to approach them, and then they sort of move out of the way at the last second when the walker lunges at him, and the walker falls down to down this hill under the bridge in just little ravine or swamp kind of area, I guess is what it was. And, you see all the characters doing that. Michonne does it, Abraham does it and stuff like that. But then, of course, we see Sasha. And Sasha, understandably, okay, I'll say right away, I'm not the biggest fan of Sasha. I just find her sort of annoying in certain ways. She's kind of that overly bossy type of character at times, but this week I actually kind of liked her because, understandably she's upset and grief and sort of angry over what happened to Tyrese. And so we see her, instead of, doing that method of killing those walkers I talked about a minute ago, we see her, she just, starts brutally stabbing one of them and, just starts taking out her rage and frustration on that. And she actually almost stabs Michonne in the chest with a knife. And as Michonne said earlier, pretty much with all due respect, when your brother flew into that rage, when Tyrese, like when Karen was killed and stuff like that, remember how reckless he was and stuff back in season 4 especially. She said, he was stupid and almost got himself and, others killed and or at least put in danger. And, she was warning Sasha that, she's doing the same kind of thing. And Sasha says, oh yeah, we're not the same. Not in that way, not like that. But Sasha's doing a similar thing there. And it's understandable why she'd be so upset and so angry. But she almost stabbed Michonne in the freaking chest, okay? So she probably has to try to get a hold of herself sooner rather than later. So there's that. And, and if she provokes Michonne, she's not going to win that fight. I'll just say it now. That's not a fight she's going to win. So, yeah. And I'm glad Michonne didn't get stabbed in the chest in general, so that's good. I love Michonne. She's my favorite character other than Rick. I even put her above Daryl and stuff like that. Favorite character, of course, is Rick. Then I'd go Michonne, then probably, I don't know, Daryl and Tara, most likely. But out of the people surviving right now, if we go of all time, I'd probably go, Shane and Rick, and then probably Michonne and Merle, and then you get into, Tara and Daryl and stuff, and Herschel, and Dale. Anyway, I could do a whole video about that, so I'll save that for another time. But yeah, so that was all really good. And then we see basically where each group member is sort of at. We see how Abraham's turning to alcohol again and stuff like that. And Rosita's basically acknowledging that that won't help him. That if anything, that'll probably make it worse. But Abraham himself actually has a decent moment in this episode. He tries to actually, sort of befriend Sasha and says, she's with friends and stuff like that. But of course, Sasha coldly brushes him off. And, if Abraham's actually able to come from where he has been mentally and emotionally and is still able to, talk to someone in that way to try and help them. He's seen his wife and, family devoured and the whole, lie with Eugene and stuff. If he's able to come back from all that, then I think Sasha should show him a little bit more respect and take his word with a little bit more salt, perhaps, but... so that was all good, but again, it's understandable why Sasha would be acting that way, but... And we've seen something a little bit different this episode than something we haven't really seen in The Walking Dead before, and that was, these stray dogs, which we see in the preview. Some people are speculating they were wolves and stuff because of the writing we see in the background in last week's episode and stuff. But, I think the wolves are going to be this new group. That's what a lot of people are speculating, but we'll see what happens with that. But they weren't wolves, but they were pretty much strayed wild dogs, pretty much. And, they were pretty much feral. They had been by themselves for how long, sort of scavenging and, picking off what they can. So it's understandable why they'd be so hostile and, basically feral, like I said. And, they sort of, a few of them approach our group and, a few members, are starting to raise their guns and stuff like that, or their weapons and stuff. And Sasha just picks up her gun and just coldly shoots them all dead, just like that, without really any hesitation. And Noah sort of gives her a look with that and stuff. But yeah, so it's different seeing animals to that extent on the show. It's definitely unique. We haven't really seen many animals on The Walking Dead. I mean, I remember seeing a couple dogs running through Atlanta in season 1 and stuff. And, also that dog that Beth and Daryl seen back in Still in season 4. And of course, we've seen horses back on the farm and stuff, but we haven't really seen this many dogs to this extent before, or animals in general. So it was kind of cool to see, even though they're killed really quickly. I like them to show more animals like that anyway. Again, I don't think Walking Dead does anything like having animals be infected or anything like that. But, even there would be some animals still alive right now. It'd be really scarce and stuff, but even Daryl's seen that dead deer, so I'd like to see more animals, I guess, on the show for some reason. Let's see. Daryl in this episode, he is definitely worthy talking about this week. He had quite a good bit of development, quite a bit of focus. We see he's sort of like going back into that lone wolf kind of cold, withdrawn, stoic version of himself that we haven't really seen much of since, like season 2 for the most part. Season 1, season 2, some of season 3. But after what happened to Beth, you imagine how much he's probably blaming himself over it, from all the time they spent together, and, he's still probably blaming himself that he couldn't find her sooner, or he couldn't, of course, obviously stop Dawn from, blowing her brains out. Excuse my insensitivity there, but I never liked Beth too much, but I do like how they're showing how much her death affects certain characters of the group, in particular Daryl and Maggie. And Maggie gets some really good character moments in this episode as well. We see her crying, like, right at the beginning of the episode, and sort of just like, oh, here comes Mother Walker, just get this one out of the way, and then I'll go back to crying. But, of course, that's obviously understandable, and she sort of tells Father Gabriel later on that, she never thought, Beth would be alive anyway, and then, she just found out, oh, wait, she's alive, and then she found out she was dead anyway in the same day, so you can imagine what she was going through. So with people complaining, oh yeah, she never mentioned her sister while they were out on their own earlier this season, it's because she didn't really believe she would be alive anyway, so what's the point of talking about it? That just get you in a bad place at a bad time. So, Maggie was very good in this episode, just like Sasha. And, but yeah, back to Daryl. We see him have a really big moment, Rick tries to talk to him and stuff, but he sort of, like, brushes him off in a respectful yet cold kind of way. And, it's nice seeing Rick carrying Judith around as well. But, and we see Daryl sort of go off on his own, to spend some time with himself. And he finds a small bar, and he sort of just, like, sits down, leans up against a tree, and, he takes out a cigarette, smokes it for, like, like 15 seconds or something like that. And I just see his eyes. Norman Reedus, the actor who plays him, does a really good job with this part. He shows in his eyes, like slowly welling up and his tears coming out, and he does, finally let out some of that grief and sadness over what happened to Beth out, and that was really good to see for the character. Instead of like seeing him all hard and stoic, like I said earlier, and jaded, basically. And it was kind of Carol who prompted him to really show that, even though he was by himself. Him and Carol actually had a conversation earlier. Carol was kind of calling him out on how he was acting and stuff after that. And she knows he's actually, he has feelings, he has these emotions in him. And I feel like Carol sort of, prompted him to, sort of, let it out. Even if he was by himself, in any way he could, he finally did it. Of course, cute to see Carol kiss Daryl on the forehead as well. And of course, I don't know how gay I looked with that last expression looking up while I said that, but oh yeah, that's cute, yeah. But, I ship them as a couple too. I think her and Daryl make sense, but I'm not sure if that'll happen, but I'd much rather have them than him and Beth. But we know that's not going to happen now, no doubt about that, so. The couple I ship the most, though, is obviously Rick and Michonne. That just makes so much sense. But anyway, I can't wait for that to happen. Come on, please. Michonne. Okay, anyway. I like emotions and, the feels and stuff like that. So, anyway, it was good to see Daryl, finally let it all out, like I said, and it was, subtle enough, expressive enough, and it still showed so much, even with not overdoing it. He didn't completely sob all over the place, even though he was letting a lot out at the end. it was just right for the character, just the right amount of grief shown, and I think it really did its job. It was really, really well done for a performance from Norman Reedus. One of his better scenes in the series. So yeah, I like that whole thing a lot. And let's see what else. It wasn't like a whole lot that happened. We would just see sort of, our group, sort of just dealing with their own personal, how they're like all personally affected by what's happened recently. Some of them are more in grief than others because of their attachment, to Tyrese and Beth and stuff like that. But, also, everyone's kind of dealing with their own thing in a way. Tara's still among them. I wish they'd give Tara some more time again. I like her a lot. She's one of those characters I'm pretty worried about, though. I'm not sure if she'll make it out of the season. I'm hoping she does because I think she's pretty likable. So yeah, it's odd seeing her and Rosita laying together. So I wonder if something's gonna happen with that sometime. I don't know. But I hope Tara's around for a decent while anyway. I think she's pretty enjoyable. Like I said, I actually like her almost as much as Daryl. So, it goes like Rick Michonne, Tara Daryl, or Daryl Tara. But, yeah. So there's that, and I know there's the whole thing at the barn at night and stuff. I just want to remember if there's anything else I want to talk about before that. No, I don't think so. So we'll get to the barn. Daryl comes back, and, he sort of tells me, there's this barn we can stay in for the night. And it's like they do a really good job. We haven't seen like very much in the way of diverse weather on the show. It's always either nighttime, blank nighttime, or blank hot daytime. You know what I mean? But with this, we see, minus like the fog and stuff earlier. But with this, we see this huge storm. It's pouring. Thunder, lightning, stuff like that. And this gives the whole show a really good tone. They're kind of stowing away in the barn, and they have like fires lit and stuff like that. And there's also this like little ballerina toy thing. You open the case up and it starts moving around and stuff. Daryl found it and he gives that to Maggie, so that's a pretty touching moment and stuff. And Maggie also seen this walker in a trunk. This walker is actually like bound and gagged. She opened up the trunk and it had like blonde hair. So I'm kind of wondering if it reminded her of Beth in a way, because of course Beth was kidnapped in a similar fashion, by the people at the hospital and stuff. But anyway, so they're all in the barn for the night, and Rick actually delivers a very good speech here. I know it's taken from the comic book. It's the "We Are the Walking Dead" speech, and he sort of like tells a story of his one of his older relatives, in World War II. And, how when he was home, he talked about how he'd ask his relative, if he killed any people, and, he wouldn't really say anything in response to that. Of course, asking if someone who's been in a war or a military has killed anyone, that's something you don't really want to talk about too much with them. But, Rick, he was a kid, though, so obviously he asked his grandfather about that. His uncle or grandfather, I forget who it was. But, he asks him about that, and he asks if, any of them tried to kill him. So that was all, sort of, layered and stuff like that. And, also he kind of talked about his grandfather's, like, really, again, I don't know, uncle or grandfather, let's call him his relative, how his relative was, like, really cold and, like, withdrawn, sort of like Daryl, and some of the rest of them are, too. And, for years he was like that, sort of not really talking to anyone, not really emotional or happy about anything. But then eventually he said he actually came out of it, and he actually wasn't too far gone. Again, he didn't use the word or the phrase "too far gone," but that's kind of what I think of it as too. And so he was able to pull through that, and he was able to like wait out the storm basically. Again, I'm not using his wording exactly, that'd be hard, and I'd probably just butcher it anyway, which I'm already doing. So that was all really good. And so he's basically saying they just have to like survive this and find their way through, and eventually they'll endure and sort of find their course and their path to the brightness, or to a place where they can finally settle and stuff like that, or like some kind of finality in their mind and stuff. They just have to sort of like endure this and like weigh this out and just wait for it to be over. However they choose to do that. So that was all really good. And of course we see Daryl look outside the barn and we see like this small group or horde of walkers approaching, and it really, like, lightning flashes and it really shows them. And Daryl's holding the door back and the walkers are trying to get in. And we slowly see like all the characters sort of come together and sort of like hold the door closed to to obviously not let the walkers in. And it was good seeing this because we've seen like the camera go to like characters that were sort of like at odds with each other, like Michonne and Sasha. They sort of like look at each other for a second, or Sasha looks at Michonne and she keeps on holding the door shut. And with Maggie and Gabriel and stuff like that too. And so that was all really good. And it was kind of weird though because they cut right till the next morning. So my dad was actually wondering if it was a dream or something that all that was happening. With the walkers at the door and everything. But no, I think we're supposed to believe that they held the door shut and the walkers eventually wandered off. Because we see when they come outside the next morning, we see all these trees were knocked over. So some people are saying there was a tornado. I'm not sure though. I think they will make that a little more clear if there was. It seems like when they're looking outside and stuff. But how else will these trees be tipped over and stuff like that, and walkers being impaled through the branches and stuff like that, or the wood. I don't know. I guess there could have been, but of course the barn was left untouched magically. But that could also symbolize that they're meant to keep going somehow too, if you want to look at that from a religious belief perspective, possibly. I don't know. That's not really my thing, but it's possible. And so that was all really good. And Sasha and Maggie have a moment, sort of, finding common ground with each other to keep going. So that was good. And then we see the stranger pop up, and I've read some things about the comic book, so I kind of, in a way, know where this is heading. But the comic book character's name is Aaron, so this is him, and I won't spoil anything if you don't want to know what's going on in the comics or what went on in the comics. I don't know full in detail either. But I kind of know where this generally might go. But it's a character named Aaron. Look him up if you want to. But if you want to speculate, he also like left this water for him earlier. It said from a friend, and so we're gonna see this if this group will follow his lead in the next episode. They'll probably try to question him quite a bit first before doing anything, of course, after the kind of people they've met. But yeah, it should be pretty interesting to see where they take that. And so that's a review for this week's episode of The Walking Dead, Them. I thought it was a very good episode with some great character moments and a really good tone and atmosphere, and I really liked it. This definitely doesn't deserve all the hate it's getting. It's definitely better than Still from Season 4, and I actually enjoyed it more than what happened and what's going on. So yeah. Kind of talked. My throat's pretty dry now, but yeah. I'll catch you guys next time, and I hope you guys have a good week. And I'll probably be doing a video on the episode of Better Call Saul that airs tonight. I'll probably be doing that tomorrow or within the week at the very latest. So yeah, I'll catch you guys next time, and voice crack, and peace.